across to you. It is the South Sydney Rabbitohs.
Yeah, mate, it's the half bunnies in Latrell Mitchell at the fullback role with Alex Johnson and Isaiah Thompson in the wing position. Isaiah Tass, Campbell Graham to make centres, Cody Walker, Lachlan Elias, the field goal, the 1 point field goal man in the halves pairing, Daniel Fafita, Tom Burgess to make the forward role, David Cook to make the hooker position, KK and Jacob Host to make the second row positions with Karen Murray rounding out the lock. Jed Cartwright, MCK, not to be confused with Machine Gun Kelly, in David Moe and Hame Esse in the interchange bench with Blake Taft to make the HIA 18th jersey. Look, Friday night, I think it's ANZ or whatever they want to call it now. It's going to be a bit of a cold one, I expect. A little bit of dew on the ground, 8 p.m. kickoff. South taking on Melbourne, so South doing it all over again. I think they should wear the jersey they wore last week because that just looked like a crisp, clean jersey to me from all round. So maybe they wear it again and they can get the job done again. But you won last week. You know what to do. You're coming off a sort of a team that's wanting to right the wrongs of early days in the season. So it's going to be a hard one for the South Sydney Rabbitohs. And what do you make of it?
Yeah, I think it's a good sort. It's a good squad on paper. Now they are a little bit short in those middle forwards still with a few injuries and stuff like that. But obviously, Hamasele coming back from his concussion is a massive boost for this side. He definitely does help steady the ship. Now, Keon Kolona-Matangi, I think he has been in the form of his life, if I'm being completely honest. Obviously, he did run straight over us when Luke Keary missed the tackle. So I expect him to get across the stripe at some point during this game. But obviously, the only other concern in this game is obviously Alex Johnson is carrying a cork. He did pick up, I think it was in the last 20 minutes against Manly. So we're still yet to see if he does play. I believe he will, but obviously if I am the Melbourne Storm, which we'll talk about soon, I'll be running out in more day and testing that out very early to see how that's going. But like we said, it is the Melbourne Storm they're playing, so let's jump straight over to it. You've got Nick Meaney, Will Warbrick, Remus Spiff, Justin Olam, Xavier Coates, Cameron Munster, Jonah Pizzette, Tia Kamaki, Harry Grant, Christian Welsh, Trent Leore, Alicia Katoa, Josh Kinn, Bronson Garlick, Alec McDonald, Tarek Sims, Ton Eisenhoop, and Grant Anderson. So, again, this is a side that we're constantly seeing Melbourne put out. Now, the only change it did beat the West Tigers is Tom Eisenhoop does join the bench after he was the 18th man last week. So, a slight change to this squad, but nonetheless, I think this is Bellamy going, okay, yes, Jerome Hughes is still suspended. He is going to come in next week, but let's start working on these systems. Let's start working on these partnerships, keeping the same team. Let's not mix it up so that we do chuck Hughes in there. Everyone's roaring and ready to go. So a strong squad on paper. I'm looking at Justin Olam to step up here, Xavier Coates, and obviously the big one, Cameron Munster. But they are, again, missing a lot of big forwards. The biggest one is obviously Nelson. He is still missing from this game. So I think it's going to be a close game. It's going to be an absolute cracker. But before we get into predictions, what do you make of this Melbourne Storm side? You're on mute.
Fuck. I think you hit the nail on the head here. This is a good side. Obviously, they played the Tigers last week. Yes, it was not the blowout game that we expected versus the Tigers. Look, they probably had an eye on this game this week, just trying to get over the speed hump of the Tigers in order to get prepared for this game, and they came out of it pretty unscathed in injury-wise. So hopefully they're up and ready for it at 8 p.m. on a Friday night up here at Sydney. So I don't know if this is a shock or it's pretty out of left field. I'm going to go Storm in a close one in a 1-12.
Listen, I don't think it's a shock. I think every year someone writes off Melbourne and we sit here and go, why the fuck did I do that 4 weeks later? So it's definitely not a shock. Melbourne can stand up. Now, Cameron Munster does have a point to prove, and Jonah Pizzette does have a point saying, hey, I want to at least be on the bench come Jerome Hughes coming back next week. I want to be on the bench. I want to challenge for a spot. Now, we both know he's not going to start over Cameron Munster and Jerome Hughes fully fit, but what he can do is definitely turn heads in those positions and go, we're down by 10, Pizzette, get on the field, show me what you can do. So it is going to be an interesting game. I'm gonna have to go against you here. I'm gonna have to go Souths 1-12. I just think they're gonna have enough talent in that back line to get them across the edge. And like I said, with the likes of Nelson, who just like Hargraves to the Roosters, is Melbourne's aggressor. Sorry. I just think Souths get across the line. They get the job done. I'm expecting Latrell to bounce back and have a cracking game because by all accounts, his performances against the Roosters, against Manly, they were good, but they weren't Latrell at the end of last season. So we'll see how he goes. I expect him to bounce back. I am going to go Rabbits 1-12, but this game is honestly toss a coin and see what happens. But from a neutral point of view, let's hope there's a few points and we get to enjoy the final game of Friday night. But